I'm going to use three examples in the city of Chicago that are responses to problems, and they're at different scales. And I would just want to show what happens when you kind of expand the problem space and think much more holistically and much broader. So I'm going to use State Street as the first example, and I'm zooming in here. And what I've got is the city decided to turn State Street, which had formerly been a very robust commercial district, into a pedestrian walkway, restricting anything other than buses and emergency vehicles through there. And the idea was that they would try to revive State Street, where you used to have Sears, Marshall Fields, Penny's, all of these old stores that had a long history with the city of Chicago. And so we're talking about this area from here all the way up to, I believe, Lake Street or maybe Randolph. And suddenly all of this was turned in, as I said, to a pedestrian mall with the idea of trying to recapture, change the environment, recapture the people who were leaving. Well, the bigger issue was that the reason the people were leaving probably had less to do with State Street and had more to do with the fact that they were moving out to the suburbs. People were afraid in some instances to come into the city, and they were doing their shopping in completely different ways. So was that the solution? I would argue that it wasn't the solution. I'm going to touch on another instance where the solution was pretty straightforward, and that was Lakeshore Drive used to terminate in a kind of dogleg, a sharp L, which literally would slow down traffic. Now, you can see it here on the map. We move here, and you would literally have to stop, take a right turn, stop again, take a left turn, and then you'd be able to move along on your way. The city realized this was a bottleneck. And so, of course, today we have the S-curve. So in that particular case, it's a fairly straightforward problem. There's a bottleneck. How do we solve it? Well, of course, solving it involves a lot of money, but also in the process of solving it, there's usually new opportunities that emerge. And of course, in the case of the S-curve, completely new opportunities emerge. Now, let's shift to what I think of as perhaps the single biggest and most holistic version of design thinking when it comes to urban planning. And that would be Lakeshore Drive. As it came south, it bifurcated just in front of the Field Museum, and the southbound traffic was moving to the west side of the museum, and the northbound traffic was moving to the east side of the museum. Now, what that creates, and I'll sketch it right here, you have a road that is subdividing the Field Museum from the Adler Planetarium and the Shedd Aquarium. So the city comes in and they rethink that. And they rethink it in an incredibly holistic way, because what it does is, and this of course is a major expense, what it does is it unites Lakeshore Drive, and we can see it on a modern day Google map. It unites Lakeshore Drive by bringing both the southbound and northbound together on one side, the west side of the Field Museum, and as a result, it opens up all of this area that is now interconnected. Humans can walk from one museum to another, and they create the museum campus, which is perhaps one of the nicest parts of the inner downtown area that we now have. So here was an opportunity to take a former plan, a bifurcated Lakeshore Drive, moving to the east and west of the museum, remove that, reunite it, and suddenly a whole set of new opportunities emerge. Inside the Google map, which is the current map, you can see where that reunification, if I can use that term, of Lakeshore Drive to the west side of the Field Museum creates this brand new opportunity that we call the museum campus. a great example that would be really close to Jan and Ingrid Gell's approach to designing the spaces between buildings in addition to the buildings themselves.